I have the coolest presentation, so I'm so excited. And my wife keeps telling me to shut up, because at home, like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this. I'm truly excited. So let me go through, so why am I truly excited? Actually, when I first came up, I talked about sponsorship and why am I personally excited. It's literally because of, I think, this central question. How can we do more is what makes this industry awesome. And what makes the TEDx format, I think, incredibly awesome. And I'm doing this for 3 years. And every year, after I leave this space, I end up talking to people in the lobby. Everyone's got new ideas, new energy, and new passion. So I'm going to back up. I want to tell you a story from 2 years ago. And some of you, I was sitting upstairs, so I didn't see who's been here 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. So some of you guys know some of the setup of the story, but I just want to take you briefly through it. In 2012, Principal Gassetto from MS343 came up to the stage. He is from the South Bronx. He teaches at a school in the South Bronx, 6th to 8th graders. And his school earned A's on the Department of Education progress report 5 years in a row, which is pretty awesome. What's more awesome from that is it's located 7 miles from this stage, and it is in the poorest congressional district in the country, which is kind of incredible when you think about it. 7 miles from the stage, when you think of the entire US, that's the poorest congressional district. Kind of remarkable. And Principal Gassetto came up, and he talked about how him and I had worked together to get his class, he's about 300 or so students, to see their first Broadway show, right? So we brought the entire school, not just the high-performing kids, everyone, special ed, everybody we brought down. And that's because Principal Gassetto and his school were totally into this, right? And part of it was celebrating academic achievement. Here are these kids who are doing the most with the least. But the real piece of it was, for me at least, is about opening a new talent pipeline, right? It's very hard to argue. If you look at entrepreneurship and innovation in this company, the kids that are doing the most with the least are someone we want in our tent. Pretty straightforward. And Principal Gassetto on the stage said, when he asked what's the best Broadway can be, it's invest in the untapped talent in our own backyard. New York City schools, they're right here. And not just any New York City school, the high-performing ones that are in the underserved areas. Really straightforward. And what's awesome about it was afterwards, people in this audience came up and said, oh my God, how can we do more? I believe in it. It makes total sense. I don't know how you wouldn't believe in it, right? How can we help? And so then the following year, 2013, which is a year ago from today, Principal Gassetto, we invited him back. Because what had happened was, from the How We Can Do More moment, a lot of people from this audience came up and said, well, what can we do? And one of them in the audience was Ann Tanaka, who was one of the producers of Spider-Man, who went back afterwards and said, holy cow, and he showed a video and all the stuff of how his kids experienced that show. She came back, was so moved by it, that said, we need to do more. And Principal Gassetto came up and talked about how they actually did more, that the cast of Spider-Man, about 30 cast members and the band, went up to the school and actually sat with the students, and we had like a work day for the students, right? They taught like science, technology, and talking all through the filter of arts. It's kind of incredible. The director went up there, and then I was able to sit in the audience when they actually also brought a band up and performed on the stage to all the students. And it was it was truly, truly a remark. I get goosebumps thinking about it when I was there. Because for these kids, most people don't even drive through that neighborhood. Never mind stop and sit and spend time with the kids. There were the security guards, the people in the building were saying, we haven't seen like something like this in our community for quite a long time. The reason that happens is simply because of Principal Gassetto and his school and their ability to sort of want to invest with us. They're a well-organized school. Great schools are far from just the students that do the great work. It's the faculty that goes above and beyond consistently, day in and day out. We also learned, what was exciting, is that the students also got to see a range of other shows. It wasn't just a one-shot deal. Between the first TEDx and the second TEDx, they had actually got to experience a range of shows. And again, that was from people in this audience who said, how can I do more? And these producers stepped up and a range of people, and it's unbelievably exciting. And then Principal Gassetto said this.
I have 2 other principals in very high-performing schools in low economic areas. These are schools, the principals of MS319, which is up in Washington Heights, the school of MS223, which is right around the corner from me in the South Bronx. These are brilliant, awesome principals who are excited about doing this. To make sure that this goes and what's the next gauge of this, I guess it would be that I'm not the one up here next year talking about this story. My hope is that whether it's another principal or somebody else, and they're talking about not the 300 students that we've impacted, but maybe the 1,000 students or the 1,000 plus.
So I'm that guy up here talking about what happened since then. Because again, this was 1 year ago today, people had come up and said, well, how can we do more? How can we do more? And what was exciting is after we walked out, and here we stand today, and that is the number of students that have seen a Broadway show for the first time. Thank you. And you're clapping for the wrong guy because I want to give real credit to where it's due. But 1,579 students. There were 2 other schools, high-performing students, low economic areas that all came together. And what we had done was they had seen a range of shows, but one of the more magical moments is we worked with the incredible cast, crew, everyone at Cinderella, to bring all 3 schools down on the same days over 4 matinee performances. We essentially took over the mezzanine of the theater, 4 performances in a row. And afterwards, and the cast spent time and sat with them afterwards. You know, the 2 first questions that came out of the students' mouths were, how does it feel to fly, was one, and the other one is how do you make the magic? So when you think about scoring talent for the next generation of kids, those types of questions are the gravitational pull of how we get young talent into our industry. It was just totally incredible. And what was more amazing about that, Micah Hollingworth from Jujamcyn and Jordan Roth and the entire team, Stephen Shaw from S2BN, after that meeting, after the last TEDx, they had come up and said, how can I help? And then all these other people behind me, to make that Cinderella thing happen, took a lot of people. Jordan Person in my office, Maria Martinez, a whole bunch of people, everyone came together, the Broadway League, all of the money, the time, the resources, the energy. That is what is awesome, and that's what's great about this industry. That's why I love this industry. I sort of tripped into this 13 years ago, and I'm still standing here, which is just crazy to me. But watching the love that comes out, and I just think we're great at that question. The TED format is built on this idea of ideas worth spreading. Principal Gassetto stood up here like 3 years ago and just said, invest in talent in your own backyard, and to watch 300 students to then all of a sudden be rallied around a bunch of other people to stitch it together. There's no formal LLC, there's no formal nonprofit set up. It's just the passion of a lot of people that sort of believe in this cause, and that is what is great about this conference. And for me, I think one of the most important things and why I'm excited by it is there's actually tangible results. So by graduation of this year, the 8th grade students of MS 343 will have attended 5 Broadway shows before they graduate. This wasn't just one show. They've seen 5 shows. They've seen more shows than the average population. This year, for the first time ever, 4 students out of about 105 in their 8th grade, 4 students auditioned for performing arts high schools. How awesome is that? So I'll leave you with 1,500 plus performing students are now engaged and active, and I can tell you that's just the start. 3 schools now have ongoing relationships with Broadway, and I want to stress this is not just about New York City public schools, as I'd love to help everybody, but there is no question high-performing students in underserved area is an untapped resource we have right in our own backyard. And we are going through a huge wave of innovation in the industry, and we need all the minds and the most diverse mindsets at the table who are hungry and want to make a change. And finally, as I said before, but we know there's thousands of more to be engaged. And the thing I love about this conference is right now there are people in this audience that are saying, how can we do more? And the reality is that I know after this I'm going to walk out, and whether you guys want to partner up with the schools we have, you have new schools, I don't really know, but I guarantee you progress will happen by the next time I'm standing on the stage, because that's what this industry does awesome. And before I go, I just want to say thank you for listening to me. Thank you to all the passion from all the people in this audience, and I had a slide of just some of the names, but there was a hell of a lot more than that that really stepped up to help. And I'd like to thank, Principal Gassetto is somewhere in this audience. Can you stand, I think you're somewhere in this audience. Can you stand up? Nice. Thank you to Principal Gassetto.